Imagine being at the bottom of the well, with bills piling up and a job that barely covers expenses. That was David's life, a delivery driver who, amidst debts and sleepless nights, almost lost hope. But a simple delivery changed everything. What seemed like just another difficult day turned into an unexpected journey, filled with challenges and exciting twists that revealed the true power of the mind and self-confidence. Want to know how he transformed his life? Then like the video, subscribe to the channel, and get ready for a story that will inspire you to never give up. You have 3 more overdue notifications. My phone alerted at 3:47 a.m. I was awake, of course. Peaceful nights of sleep were a luxury I could no longer afford. Sitting at the small kitchen table in my apartment, under the dim light of the only lamp that still worked, I organized the bills into piles: urgent, very urgent, and impossible. "David, you need to get some sleep," I murmured to myself, rubbing my tired face. But how could I sleep when the numbers just kept dancing in my head? $2,347 in overdue rent, $892 on the credit card, $438 for the car maintenance I use for deliveries. The math was relentless. That cold morning, while trying to stretch the coffee for another day, the doorbell rang. It was Mike, the mailman, with that envelope I dreaded so much. "Good morning, David. I'm sorry, but I need your signature." I took the envelope with trembling hands. Eviction notice. 3 months of overdue rent were too much even for Mrs. Thompson, my understanding landlord. "Hey, Mike, wait," I called before he walked away. "How do you manage to keep that smile every day? I mean, delivering bad news to people like me." He adjusted the bag on his shoulder and replied, "You know, David, I've learned that every envelope I deliver is just a moment in someone's life. It's not the end of the story." I went back inside, Mike's words echoing in my mind. On the wall, the clock read 6:15. In an hour, another day of deliveries would begin. I called my sister Sarah. I needed to vent. "Sarah, I don't know what to do anymore. I work 12 hours a day, every day, and even so, I can't get out of the red. David, you can't keep going like this. You're slowly killing yourself." Her voice conveyed concern. "And what's the alternative?" "I'm 38 years old, a delivery driver, and have enough debt for 2 lifetimes," I replied, watching the first light of day through the window. "Remember when we were kids, and you said you wanted to be a photographer?" Your eyes lit up when you talked about it. "Please, Sarah, don't start. Dreams don't pay bills." I hung up the phone and prepared for another day. In the bathroom mirror, I barely recognized the man reflected back. Deep dark circles, premature gray hair, shoulders slumped under the invisible weight of worries. The coffee ran out before I even filled the cup. Just one more thing on the shopping list I couldn't afford. I sat on the worn-out sofa, the one I bought in better times, and asked out loud, "Is this it? Is my whole life going to be like this?" It was another hot day, and I was 2 hours late with the deliveries. The GPS led me to a yellow house with a well-kept garden. Great, another annoyed customer, I thought, adjusting the crumpled package under my arm. "I'm sorry for the delay, ma'am," I began to apologize automatically when the door opened. A middle-aged woman, with a serene smile, interrupted me. "Claire, you can call me Claire. And don't worry, I was meditating anyway," she said, noticing my exhausted expression. "You look like you need a glass of water. Would you like some?" Normally, I would refuse. Time is money, and I was later than ever. But something in her gaze made me accept. "You know," she commented while pouring me cold water, "sometimes life slows us down on purpose. To make us stop for a moment. I gave a forced smile. Ma'am. I mean, Claire, in my life, delays mean less money, and money is something I can't afford to lose right now. She studied me for a moment, then went to a shelf and returned with a small book, its blue cover faded. Here, this is for you. Along with your tip. I can't accept. I tried to return it, but she insisted. 6 months ago, I was broke, going through a divorce, and behind on my mortgage, Claire revealed, her eyes shining. This book changed my life. Maybe it will do the same for you. During my lunch break, I parked the delivery car in a quiet spot and opened the book. The Law of Attraction, Manifest Your Abundance, I read aloud and almost laughed. But I started reading anyway. The universe responds to the frequency of your thoughts. What you constantly visualize and feel as real eventually materializes in your life. What nonsense, I muttered, but I kept reading. The pages talked about people who transformed their lives through the power of the mind, visualization, and gratitude. My phone vibrated, another overdue notification. Ironically, at that moment I was reading, scarcity is just a state of mind. You can choose to live in abundance starting today. Easier said than done, I grumbled, but I tucked the book into my backpack. Deep down, a small voice whispered, "What do you have to lose?" I looked at the clock, my break had ended 10 minutes ago. More delays, more problems. But for the first time in a long time, I felt something different. It wasn't hope, not yet. It was more like a restless curiosity. What if there was some truth in those pages? I started the car, thinking of Claire's words, "It changed my life." Could it change mine too? I deserve prosperity, I wrote on a yellow piece of paper and stuck it on the fridge. It felt ridiculous, but the book insisted on the importance of affirmations. I opened the empty refrigerator and laughed bitterly. Prosperity? There isn't even milk in here. That morning, the delivery truck decided not to start. Great. Perfect. Exactly what I needed. Take a deep breath and visualize positive solutions, I read aloud from the book. I closed my eyes, trying to concentrate, when my phone rang. "David, where are you?" "We have 12 late deliveries," shouted my supervisor, Mark. "My car won't start, fix it or find another job." I hung up the phone and looked at the phrase on the refrigerator. What a joke, I muttered, crumpling the yellow paper. That night, I tried to follow another piece of advice from the book, write a gratitude journal. I sat at the kitchen table, pen in hand, "Dear Gratitude Journal, this is ridiculous. I'm a grown man writing in a notebook like a teenager. What should I be grateful for? The overdue bills? The broken car?" Sarah called me at that moment. "Hey, bro, how's that book you mentioned?" "A waste of time," I replied. "Repeating nice phrases isn't going to pay my bills." "You've always been like this, David. You give up before you really try." "You don't understand, Sarah. I'm drowning." Yesterday, a customer asked me if I was sick because I look so worn out. How can I think about manifesting abundance when I can hardly sleep? "Maybe that's exactly why you should try," she replied gently. After hanging up, I returned to the notebook. I forced myself to write, "I'm grateful for having a roof over my head." I paused. The pen trembled in my hand. "For now," I added mentally, remembering the eviction notice. The next morning, I looked at myself in the mirror trying to repeat the suggested affirmations, "I am prosperous. Money flows easily to me." My own laughter interrupted me. "Who are you trying to fool?" At work, between deliveries, I found myself thinking, what if this actually worked? What if? But then I looked at the fuel gauge on empty, at my worn clothes, at my holy shoes, and the voice of doubt came back stronger. This isn't for people like you. People like you were born to struggle and lose. That night, I found the crumpled affirmation paper. I smoothed it out and reread the words, I deserve prosperity. Do I really? I asked the silence of the empty apartment. That night, exhausted after work, I scrolled through my phone without paying attention. An ad started playing. Have you tried manifesting but feel like you're doing something wrong? Normally, I would skip the ad, but something made me stop. It was a man in his 50s, Michael Peterson, speaking with a simplicity that caught me off guard. Forget everything you've heard about manifestation. I'm going to teach you something that changed my life when I was sleeping on my sister's couch 15 years ago. I sat up straighter in my chair. It was exactly where I was, on Sarah's couch. The technique is simple, Michael continued. Take 5 minutes out of your day. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths. Now, don't think about what you want, feel as if you already have it. I paused the video. Feel as if you already have it? Impossible. But I kept watching. Michael explained, if you want financial prosperity, don't visualize money. Visualize what your day would be like being prosperous. How would you wake up? What would you wear? How would it feel to pay your bills on time? Reluctantly, I followed the instructions. I closed my eyes. Take a deep breath, I heard his voice guiding. Now, you are waking up on a Saturday morning. No alarms. No worries. What is this room like? Surprisingly, the image came easily, of course, with big windows. The sun comes in softly. The walls are white. Excellent. How do you feel waking up? Calm, I answered aloud, alone in the apartment. There's no weight on my chest. Now, you go to your kitchen. What do you see? A new, full refrigerator. Coffee brewing. Fresh fruit on the table. And when you look at your bills? I hesitated. It was hard to imagine that. Don't force it, Michael's voice continued. Just feel the peace of knowing everything is in order. I spent 20 minutes on that exercise. When I opened my eyes, I noticed something different. It wasn't hope, not yet. It was more like possibility. I subscribed to his channel. Every night before bed, I practiced visualization. At first, I felt silly. But Michael always said, it's not about pretending. It's about training your brain to recognize possibilities. A week later, I found myself smiling while doing the exercise. The image was clearer, more real. The bright apartment, the fresh coffee, the bills on time, they no longer felt like a distant fantasy. Remember, Michael said in one of the videos, you're not creating a lie. You're reminding your brain of a truth it forgot. You were born to thrive. For the first time in years, I started to believe it. I was making my last delivery of the day when I noticed something different. The customer, an elderly lady, smiled as she received her package. You look lighter today, she commented, increasing my usual tip from $2 to $10. I was surprised, but it was true. After 3 weeks of practicing Michael's visualizations, something was changing. It wasn't the money, it was still tight, but my posture, my way of speaking, my demeanor. The next day, I gathered courage and called the bank. Good morning, I'd like to renegotiate my credit card debt. Sure, sir. Let me check the options, the representative replied. I took a deep breath, remembering the visualization. You are calm, confident. Solutions come naturally. Mr. David, I can offer you a 40% discount for payment in 12 installments. My heart raced. It was much better than I hoped. I accept, I replied, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. The following week, Mark, my supervisor, called me in. David, I've noticed your deliveries are more punctual. Customers are praising your service. I'm getting organized better, I replied. Keep it up. I'm going to put you on the premium routes. There are fewer deliveries, but the tips are better. I floated back home. Sarah called that night. Hey, bro. How are the views going? You know what, they're working? Not the way I imagined, but... What do you mean? It's like, things are falling into place. I was able to renegotiate my credit card debt, the tips have increased. That's amazing, David. But the strangest thing is that I feel different. I wake up wanting to work. I smile more at the customers. It's like what? Like I finally believe I deserve good things. By the end of the month, while doing the math, I realized I had a little money left over. For the first time in years, I wasn't in the negative. I sat down to do my nightly visualization, but this time it was different. I was no longer imagining a distant reality, I was recalling small, real victories. In the mirror, I saw a different man. The tired eyes were still there, but there was a new spark in them. Keep going, Michael said in his videos. The first signs are like drops before the rain. Keep your umbrella open. I grabbed my gratitude journal, now filled with real entries, no longer forced. I'm thankful for the debt renegotiation. I'm thankful for the generous tips. I'm thankful for starting to believe. And for the first time, I didn't have to force a smile while writing. It was a Thursday afternoon when I passed by the window of a used electronics store. A semi-professional Canon camera caught my attention. $400. Exactly the amount I had managed to save. Can I see that camera? I asked the seller. Sure. It was serviced last week, he explained, handing over the equipment. I held the camera and closed my eyes for a second, remembering the visualizations. For months, I had imagined myself photographing events, creating a portfolio, building something of my own. I'll take it, I said, surprised by my own conviction. That night, Sarah called me. David, I need a huge favor. The photographer for my friend Nicole's wedding canceled at the last minute. Could you? Sarah, I just bought a camera, but I'm not a professional. You've always had talent. Remember when you used to photograph at school? Please, she's desperate. I took a deep breath. How much would she pay? $800 for 4 hours. My heart raced. It was more than a week's worth of deliveries. On the wedding day, my hands trembled. You're ready, I repeated to myself, as Michael taught. You've got this inside you. The photos flowed naturally. I captured moments, smiles, tears of joy. Nicole came to hug me at the end. David, the previews are beautiful. I have 3 friends getting married in the next few months. Can I pass your contact? In 2 weeks, I secured 2 more weddings. I created an Instagram for my work. The photos from the first event generated more referrals. Mark noticed my change. You're different, David. More focused. I'm starting something of my own, I confessed. Photography. He smiled. I always knew you wouldn't stay in deliveries forever. A month later, sitting in my apartment, I looked at my calendar. 5 confirmed events for the next month. $4,000 in signed contracts. I took the yellow paper from the fridge, the same one I had crumpled months before. I deserve prosperity. Tears streamed down my face when I realized it wasn't just about the money. It was about believing in myself, about daring to dream bigger. I called Sarah. Sis, it happened. What? The manifestation. But it wasn't magic. It was as if the universe had given me the pieces of the puzzle, and I finally learned how to put them together. I always knew you could do it. I looked out the window, the sun setting on the horizon. The same view as always, but my eyes saw it differently now. It was no longer a small, suffocating apartment, it was the place where a dream had begun. And this was just the beginning. Today, sitting in my new photography office, I look at that yellow paper framed on the wall. I deserve prosperity. I smile remembering how it all started. So, how does it feel to be a successful photographer? Sarah asked, helping me organize my new space. You know what's funny? It's not about the money in the account. What do you mean? I remember when I started the visualizations. I thought I just wanted to get out of debt, have a positive account. But I discovered something much bigger. I picked up my old notebook, flipping through the pages marked by the anxiety of months ago. The real miracle wasn't the business success, Sarah. It was realizing that I always had that potential inside me. It was just dormant. At that moment, Michael, my old virtual mentor, walked into the office. After months of online conversations, we finally met in person. David, your space looks amazing, he smiled. All thanks to you, Michael. No, he shook his head. I just showed you the way. You chose to walk. We sat down, drinking coffee. Michael picked up my camera, examining it. Do you remember what I told you about manifestation? That it wasn't about asking the universe, but about awakening something inside us? Exactly. The money, the success, are just consequences. The real transformation is internal, I completed. Today I understand that. Sarah picked up one of the photos on the wall, a couple dancing at their wedding. You've always had that artistic eye, bro. You just needed to believe. It's funny, I said, I used to see manifestation as something magical, distant. Now I know it's about waking up every day and choosing to believe. It's about persisting when everything seems impossible. Michael smiled. And what would you say to someone who is where you were? I thought for a moment, remembering my old self, desperate on Sarah's couch. I would say that the first step is the hardest, believing that you deserve more. It's not about visualizing wealth, it's about recognizing your worth. Money? It comes as a consequence of aligning with your purpose. I stood up, looking out the office window. You know what else I've learned? That manifestation is not about changing the world out there. It's about changing the world in here. I pointed to my heart. When you change your internal frequency, the outside naturally adjusts. Sarah wiped away a discreet tear. And for you, who are listening to this now, what internal change do you need to make? What truth do you need to accept about yourself? The universe is not waiting for you to have everything perfect. It's waiting for you to take the first step, even with fear. Because the greatest manifestation? It's you finally believing in yourself. If this story inspired you to believe in your power to transform, leave your like and share in the comments how you envision a more prosperous life for yourself. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss new stories that can help you create a different reality. Remember, change starts within you. So, how about taking the first step? Your interaction makes all the difference for us to continue bringing content that inspires and transforms. Until the next video.